New home sales are way up in August. That's what we're going to talk about today. New home sales actually were up 20.5% from July to August. And I'm going to share with you in this video why I think this happened. I'm also going to show you the incentives offered by a certain builder that will just blow your mind. And then at the end, I'm going to also share with you what one of the builders is doing to attempt, I guess you could say, to build a smaller home so that it will be more affordable. All right, so let's get into it. New home sales soar. I'm looking at this right here. I'll put this article in the description. This is a CNBC article. New home sales soar 20% in August to a 3-year high. One of the charts I want to show you has to do with the number of unsold completed home sales. Let's take a look at that right now. All right, here we go. Okay, so what you're looking at is, again, number of unsold completed homes for sale. This peak here in the middle, this is coming from 2006, 7, and 8. So this was the housing bubble back then. And you can see this is the number of completed, unsold new homes that were out there. Now you can see where we are today, or just fairly recently anyway. This line represents where we are. And if it goes back to the highest level since July of 2009, we're seeing new home sales pile up across the country. And I'm going to break down with you what some of the builders are doing to get these sold. But this is why I think, all right, this is why I think that we saw a massive increase in August. Builders were starting to cut their prices, offer massive incentives. And I'm going to show you right now what one of the builders was doing as far as their incentive. Let's take a look. So this is Lennar's incentives. It's the highest that it's been since 2009. Lennar's sales incentives on home deliveries as a percentage of revenue. All right. You can see right here on this chart, 14.3% is what they hit this last report anyway. So this is Q3, quarter 3 of 2025, 14.3% in incentives. Now that number is massive. Let me just do some math for you. So if somebody is buying a house for $500,000 new build, okay, $500,000 at 14.3%. That means the incentive that was offered for them to buy that house was $71,500. So $70,000 that could be used for multiple things, whether that's closing costs, buying down the rate maybe, or also just upgrades to the house itself. But this is a massive increase. You can see that is the highest since 2009 as far as what the incentive offered by Lennar. Now, of course, what that does is that helps prop up the prices a little bit, because if they would just sell the house at the lower price instead of selling it at the current price and then offering the incentives, I mean, you're talking about $70,000. So on a $500,000 property, you're talking about $430,000 is what they technically could sell the house for. But instead, they want to offer these incentives to allow people to do upgrades and also closing cost assistance. So I feel like this incentive program it's kind of a sleight of hand if you ask me, because technically they're not dropping the price as much so that they can keep the price elevated and then use the incentive to cover closing costs or upgrades to the house, or maybe even rate buy downs. I know a lot of builders were offering the 3-2-1 or the 2-1 buy down, meaning they're buying the rate down for the first few years to help people get into the houses at the lower rates so they have the lower payments during that time. But technically they're saying, well, we're willing to take a purchase price of $430,000, but we want to keep it at $500,000. We'll just offer you the incentive instead. Yeah, so that's how that works. So looking at the CNBC article once again, the sales numbers were actually provided by the U.S. Census. This count is based on people out shopping in August and signing deals. So these numbers are based off of people actually being out at the builders signing new build contracts in the month of August. Now, this was when the average rate on a 30-year fixed rate was actually higher than it is today even.
The rate started August at 6.63%, according to Mortgage News Daily. The sharp decline in rates began in September, when it fell to a 3-year low of 6.13% the day before the Federal Reserve cut the Fed funds rate. Remember, the Fed cut the Fed funds rate. We actually saw mortgage rates go up, and they moved higher to where it is now at 6.37. Given that rates hadn't fallen yet, it's curious that August sales jumped so high. Part of the answer may actually be in the survey itself. So they're questioning the validity of the numbers that came out for this 20% increase in new home contracts. Even Robert Dietz, chief economist of the National Association of Home Builders, says, "We were expecting a gain, but not that large." Always important to remember, the margin of error for new homes is large. We'll need to wait for revisions next month and the September data point to see if this is smoothed out. So there's some numbers obviously in question. Also, home builder analyst Ivy Zellman of Zellman and Associates said the number was, quote, "directionally right, but the magnitude was way too high." Again, concerns about the actual numbers that came out. So if we look at different parts of the country with these signed contracts, new home sales were the strongest in the Northeast, where overall new construction is low, so swings can be large. It was also strong in the South, where home building is busiest. Sales, while higher, were weakest in the West, where prices are the highest. So we're just going to have to wait and see how these numbers shake out, which kind of seems to be par for the course right now with economic numbers, doesn't it?
So before we look at this new build home that is being offered now, that's a much smaller home, so it'd be great for that first-time buyer. Before we get into that, though, if you have had any certain experience with any of the builders across this country, and you want to share it with me, let me know. You can share that with me in the comment section. So let's take a look at the smaller home offered by Lennar. This is in Texas. John Greeny, managing partner at North Star Property Solutions, shared with ResiClub some images he captured of smaller homes constructed by Lennar. These are located 43 miles north of downtown Dallas. So let's take a look. Much smaller footprint. It is 2-story, which isn't really for me. I don't really want a lot of stairs anymore. But this is in Providence Village, Texas. You can get a good look at them right there. And Lennar doesn't have a price point on this. It looks like these homes are about 1,300 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Lennar doesn't currently have a price list for it, looks like, but Greeny believes that it's going to be priced in the mid to upper 200,000 range. So there you have it. That's a look at the smaller homes that are going to be offered by Lennar in the Dallas, Texas area. Hey folks, thanks so much for watching. I hope that you like this update on the new home sales and why I think that they had this increase in the number of sales. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask me down in the comment section. And until next time, take care.